Hello, this is Harvey Persons here with News and Views with the Mayor. Today we are live here in Savannah, Georgia in the conference hall with the 82nd annual GMA convention. We're with GMA Executive Director, Mr. Lamar Norton, is joining us today. We're very proud and glad to have him with us. Lamar's been with, we're going to let Lamar tell us a little bit about himself and how long he's been with GMA, and then we're going to talk with our viewers about the Georgia Municipal Association and the importance that it brings to Georgia cities around Georgia. So with that, without further ado, Lamar, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about your career that brings you to Georgia Municipal Association, how long you've been with GMA, and what it is we're about here today.
Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate it. As you said, I'm been with GMA about 14 years. It's been a great career, but I'd like to give you a little foundation that led up to me being at GMA. I had the opportunity to work for Georgia Power Company for about 32 years. So I'm getting kind of old, and people say, well, maybe he needs to retire.
No.
But it's just
you started young.
It's just a matter of age. That's all it is. I actually started with Georgia Power, and I worked throughout the company in various locations, small cities, fairly large cities, on behalf of the company. And I worked with the local elected officials, worked with the professional staffs all across the state in various capacities with city issues and county issues and school issues. And when the opportunity arrived in 2001 that I could come to GMA and actually head up their governmental affairs department, I jumped at the opportunity. I love working with city officials because they are doing the best they can for the taxpayer and the local citizenry, and it's absolutely amazing what you get accomplished. I've always been amazed by that, always been fascinated by that, but I always realized I could never get elected. I couldn't.
Oh, I bet you could.
I would never expect somebody to vote for me, but I want to be there to help them vote for the right people and get the right people to make sure their citizens are taken care of. That says a lot in a short package, but this is a great organization. It is membership driven and will always be membership driven as long as I have anything to do with it. I spent 10 years leading our lobbying effort, our advocacy effort, and our education effort, because that's really what it is. We're trying to educate legislators and state department heads and state staff on what cities really do, because unless you're involved in it, you don't recognize all the things that go into cities. And I know you do a great job in Douglasville, and we're so happy that you're here and being a big part of what we're about at GMA.
Well, thank you for those kind remarks, Lamar, but we at Georgia Cities would vote for you, and we would work very hard to get you elected, but we'd much rather keep you as the Executive Director for the Georgia Municipal Association because of the excellent job you do, but not only that, but the leadership that you provide Georgia Municipal Association. I know your staff thinks an awful lot of you, and we as elected municipal people think an awful lot of you because of the job, the passion, and the commitment that you bring to Georgia Municipal Association.
There's no doubt about it that I care about our cities.
Oh,
and
that
the
is
state.
very true.
We say all the time, we're not a partisan group. We're not Republican, we're not Democrat, we're not independent. But one thing we're partisan about, we're cities.
Amen.
And
Amen.
we provide city services to our citizens that live inside our boundaries. And we're going to continue to be the best that we can be throughout this state, from the smallest city, Edge Hill, a population of 24, to the city of Atlanta, population somewhere north of 450,000. So we're dedicated to every city in this state.
Well, that's something that all of our viewers out there, I believe, will attest to, and most people will attest to you and I, about you and I both. We're very passionate about what we do, and that is Georgia Cities, me with Douglasville, but also with Georgia Cities, because as things go with Georgia, things go with our local cities, and things go with Douglasville. Let's talk a little bit about GMA and the convention. I have here the Georgia Cities. This is a publication that's put out by GMA, and it talks about a lot of the great things that are going on around Georgia. But the headline for this one talks about art and culture making a big impact on Georgia cities, which ties into what the theme of this 82nd annual convention is about, and that's creative impact. And that is the impact that the arts and culture has on Georgia cities around the state. So tell us a little bit about that and how GMA came up with that theme.
We were looking at what do we really do in our cities? How do we impact the citizens on a daily basis? Several things came to mind. You know, we provide, in most cases, library services. You see citizens wanting to go back to reading a book or to using the computer in a quiet environment. You find them wanting to learn more and more about the history of this state, especially the city they live in, especially about the leaders who provide that big vision for where they've been and where they're headed. I always say there's something about leadership and there's something about statesmanship. Leadership's wonderful. Statesmanship is even greater because that's somebody that's got a vision and a plan to get there. I think we've got great statesmen in our city elected officials that are great statesmen. They just need a platform to push those great ideas and be innovative. One of the things that we thought and one of the things that we're seeing come to fruition is that the arts and the culture in this state, especially in all of our cities, is remarkable. We've got things from artists who actually paint, who create with a hammer and chisel, with a welder, to musicians that are absolutely wonderful. They play a musical instrument like no one else can play it. We've got children who are musically inclined, want to be theatrical by nature. It's a widespread, wonderful group of people around this state that believe in the arts and the culture of this state and the culture of our cities. What we want to do is bring it all together and say, we are a destination place. Every city in this state isn't something you should drive through, but it's someplace you should stop, observe, and witness what they're doing because they're doing great, great things across this state. That's our arts and culture theme for the year.
Well, that is all very true, Lamar. And one of the things that for our viewers, I don't think they really, sometimes people don't really realize the importance of arts and culture with a civilization or within a community. But arts and culture is how every civilization from the beginning of time has really expressed who they are, what they are, and then passed that history, if you will, on to other generations. But also in one of the informational pieces I was reading that has been put out, as a matter of fact, I believe it was a letter from the governor, talked about that arts and culture is, I believe, like the fifth or sixth largest employer in the state and is responsible for about a $6 or $8 billion economic impact. So not only is it important as far as the culture of communities and our civilization, but it has a tremendous impact within communities and within our state. So it's very important.
It's absolutely important, not only for the economic dollars, but also for the education and the communication effort of our citizens. As you said, they pass down history through the various art forms that we've observed over the years, and it doesn't go away. You know, there's ebbs and flow, there's high points, there's low points, but it always comes back, and it comes back better than ever, and it continues to impress me how much we put into it in this state as far as the arts and the history of the great cities across this state. Savannah is absolutely a case study in itself of the 400 years ago and how it has progressed, how it continues to do that. And every citizen that is from Savannah has a little history. There's a little arts, a little culture, a little creative impact they bring to this great city. And it does the same for Douglasville. You look at the people that have been there, you know them much better than I. And you've got some people that are called characters who do some very...
No, not in Douglasville.
But who do some really, really creative things. And it's the appreciation for that creativity. We cannot cut that off. We have to promote that to give them an opportunity to express themselves.
Right. You mentioned Savannah, and 400 years ago when the people came, I was reading something last night, and it said those 114 people. So you look from those 114 people 400 years ago to Savannah, what it is today, and you can ride all over Savannah and see examples of the art and the culture of the people that came here before us and expressed themselves. Let's talk a little bit more about GMA so that our viewers will truly understand what GMA does And one of the things that we can talk a little bit about is this little booklet here that is out there for all of the participants to get a copy of. But in it, it is listed all of the events that take place starting from early in the morning on into the evening. And there are many classes that are in here. Tell us a little bit about some of the classes, if you will, and what it does to help the elected officials govern the cities that they're elected to govern.
Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate that wonderful lead-in, because today, tomorrow, and Monday afternoon and Tuesday, we have over 2,100 seats filled for training. That training goes from open meetings, open records, to how do we e-verify, how do we get along with our staff, how do we get along with each other, how do we cut out some of the arguments that happen. We don't want to cut off debate, but we want certainly every elected official and every professional staff to get along, learn how to debate, learn how to ask good questions. How do we run better meetings? How do we get our citizens involved in our council meetings? How do we make open meetings open and welcome, because we are here to serve the citizens of this state, and we want them involved. We want them to hold our elected officials and our professional staffs accountable. We pledged integrity to everybody that sits in our chairs. We want everybody to be somebody of high character, somebody that will pass on to their citizens how great their city can be, and that if you'll work with me, we can make it even better. So we've got training classes for 4 parts of 4 days, and it's a great way for any elected official, any city manager, any city clerk to get exactly what they need if they're trying to do a good job in our cities. And I'm convinced that all 3,100 of our elected officials want to do the right thing, and they want to do it the best it's ever been, and they're committed. I see that from yourself and your council. They want to make Douglasville the best city in this state.
Well, that's the thing, Lamar, and that's why I wanted our viewers to know and understand that this is not a play event, if you will. It's a very serious time of learning everything from government finance to law enforcement to ethics to keeping our communities and cities beautiful to paving to anything that has anything to do with cities as it relates to governing and getting the job done. Everything from the financial aspects of it to the nuts and bolts of how to do it. And GMA does an excellent job of helping provide that information and training. But you also, GMA provides a host of other benefits to Georgia cities as it relates to risk management, health insurance. Tell us about some of those things that GMA does.
Thank you, sir. This morning, as a matter of fact, in one of our training sessions, it was about risk management. It's about how do you lower your risk? How do we make sure that our public works, our public safety officials are free of accident? How do we get them home at night safely? It's one of these things that's really big for GMA. Is how do we cut out some of the accidents that happen? How do we protect the citizens in doing our job? It's a big deal to us, and we really want to make it a primary theme for what our city officials do. We've got insurance programs. Years ago, 35 years ago, the state gave us permission to get in the insurance business because private insurance did not want to insure policemen, firemen, and public works department.
A little bit of a liability there, isn't there?
Just a whole lot.
A little bit of risk management.
They did not want to try to write premiums or policies with a high premium and then have to pay off, because we put those people at a high risk every day of their life that they're on the job. And what we were trying to do, we have a pool where all cities is available to be a member of that pool, and we run it very closely. We don't let that pool go without great management, because we make sure that we've got good administrators, we've got people who actually know how to get this done, working and providing good customer service to each city. We provide advice to them. We provide various educational opportunities. And like I say, it's all about risk management and how do we do it better. We also provide life and health insurance to it's available to our members. Our premiums are low the more we can get our members to be proactive with their health, the lower that premium is going to be. If we continue to wait until we're having major health problems, we're like any other insurers. We're going to experience high premiums. Our bottom line is, and we do this with integrity, we preach integrity to all of our folks, and we try to live that way at GMA. And we do live that way. I shouldn't say try. We do live that way at GMA.
And do an excellent job.
And it is so important that we make sure that the citizen's dollar, the taxpayer of each city, their dollar is protected, and we charge as few dollars as possible because we are trying to save the citizens of our cities money. It's not about, I know government gets a bad rap from a lot of people, but it's not about taking the last penny out of a person's pocket. It's how do we provide a service to help them put more pennies in their pocket and grow their business, and how do we get people coming downtown, and how do we do that and do it well and protect all the citizens in this state? It's a big job, but you guys do it, and I commend you for that.
And y'all do an excellent job helping us. As we get ready to close, let's talk about one other thing that GMA does that is a very, very important part of the process of helping Georgia cities do well. And you mentioned earlier what you did initially with GMA, and that is the lobbying effort. Let's talk a little bit about the legislative process and the lobbying effort that GMA does in helping Georgia cities promote their legislative agenda with our good friends under the Gold Dome.
Thank you, Mayor. We do our best to be original in thought and in purpose as we try to arrive at good policy that promotes good cities that protects the citizenry of this state. We have district meetings. We have various caucus meetings with our membership all across the state, beginning in the spring. And then we have this convention where we have policy meetings. We have 6 policy areas. We ask our membership to be involved and to help us create what would be a good program for cities throughout the next year, 10 years, whatever. And so we're looking for great public policy that would stimulate growth in this state. Now, we take that to the legislature. When we feel our membership is committed to an idea or a thought that promotes the great economy in this state, great protection for our citizens, then we take that to the legislature and we talk to them about it. We don't always get the best reception because sometimes what they talk about...
You mean we don't all always agree on everything?
You know, it's a phenomenon we don't, and I wish we did. I wish we could.
But we agree to disagree, don't we?
Every day. We do it. We do our best to do it with integrity, honesty, and we give them both sides of the story. If we're talking about transportation, we try to say this is the city part that we're concerned about. We talk about the county side that may be a little different, or it may not be. We may be in lockstep with the county. We hope we always are. There's also the state part, and then there's the federal part. And we do our best to explain to that legislator every step that we can come up with about who's for it, who's against it, and why. Because it's so important that we get to know our legislators. And I would encourage your viewers out there of Douglasville and Douglas County, if you aren't involved with your state legislator, get to know them. Invite them to your social gatherings or to your meetings. Ask them what they stand for, because they are committed to helping the citizens of their district. And I'm very, very proud of just about everything they do if they work with us.
Well, that's one of the things that GMA does promote and encourages, and we do, and that is a close relationship with our legislative delegation that represents Douglasville and Douglas County. And one of the things that we feel we were very successful with through the help of GMA, or really GMA promoting that legislative agenda, and that was House Bill 170. You mentioned a few minutes ago transportation. Certainly transportation is a very important thing within the state of Georgia, as within our whole nation. But there was some legislation that was proposed that was, we felt, detrimental to Georgia cities, worked through GMA. GMA was the lobbying group for us and helped carry that message to the Georgia delegation. And I like to feel that GMA was very instrumental in getting our state legislators to listen and rewrite that legislative bill.
Mayor, I think one of the things that I was so impressed with House Bill 170 this past session is the fact that I was part of the study committee, and we searched and we listened and we went all over the state trying to find a great idea about how do we promote and pay for transportation issues that we know have to be taken care of today. One of the things that we came up with was taking some of the local dollars to do it. We opposed that from the beginning. You don't fix a state problem by taking away from the cities and counties and schools in this state.
Amen.
And we started giving them alternatives. They started pitching alternatives back. At the end of the day, this thing had been like dribbling up and down a basketball court or playing volleyball. It was back and forth, back and forth. At the end of the day, we felt like we had a deal that would put about $1 billion in state, city, county coffers that would go toward transportation, with the prospect of even doing more if the citizens want more. We have this major economy just a few hundred yards from where we're sitting in Savannah, called the Ports Authority, where we're going to get more big trucks on the road than we've ever had before. We're going to have more trains moving than ever before because of the big ships that are coming in this harbor. And if that isn't economic growth, if that's not job creation, then I don't know what is. But we have to have the roads, we have to have the rails. We've got to have a method to move that economy to the rest of the Southeast, because without Georgia, the Southeast does not grow.
Well, we've got some really great and exciting things going on in Georgia and Georgia cities. Certainly Douglasville is right in the midst of it. We are very appreciative to GMA and the great work that GMA does to help Georgia cities be some of the greatest, or if not the greatest, cities in America, probably in the world.
I just want to say one thing about the city of Douglasville and the leadership in Douglasville, and I want to commend you, your council, and your professional staff, because you do a terrific job. You will call me at a drop of a hat if you've got an idea, a thought, or a question. That's what it takes for us to work together in order to grow this state. And I appreciate you so much for what you do. Your fine staff that come down and are so much a part of what we do at our convention and throughout the state. This staff is remarkable. They do a tremendous job, so professional, and I can't commend the citizens of Douglasville enough for what they see, what they want, and what they're willing to support. So thank you so much for you and your staff.
Well, thank you for that, Lamar. But I say all the time, we're the folks that get to make the speeches, do the talks, do the interviews, but it's our people that get the job done. And certainly appreciate you commenting on our city TV staff that is down here. I believe this is the seventh year running that they have helped GMA put on the communications part and the TV portion of this. So very appreciative to them, very appreciative to the staff with the city of Douglasville that provide the services in the manner that they do to help our citizens. So Lamar, they're waving at me. I know we've got another meeting starting at 3, but I wanted to get you on. They were a little worried about if you and I could spend enough time. But I think our viewers have seen we're both passionate about what we do, and I appreciate you very much for what you do for Georgia cities, and I appreciate your friendship and look forward to working with you more in the future. Thank you, Lamar.
Every minute of every day, Mayor. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
And this concludes this portion, or this live portion, of News and Views with the Mayor right here in Savannah at the GMA 82nd Annual Convention. Thank you.